And chat, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to Of the Devil. Excuse me. And thank you for the sub, IGU. I appreciate it. All right, we're on our way back to, I almost just said player housing. Whoops. Does it excite you going into courtrooms? Oh, right, we're heading to the courthouse. What do you mean? You don't feel the tension in the air as the audience murmurs amongst themselves? You don't feel a fiery sense of justice rising in your gut as the prosecution smirks at your ragtag assembly of witnesses? I don't think Morgan particularly cares about justice. Do you really think this is going to be like some kind of movie where the good guys save the day? Probably not. Though that would be nice if it were. What's your deal, anyway? Did David train you off of a movie marathon from hell or something? We did watch films together, if that's what you're asking, though he was rarely the one who suggested it. So you were the aggressor. What's an android get out of watching a flick anyway? What do I get? Why do you do it? What's your reason? Entertainment? I'm not sure how to answer your question. Never mind. Forgot what I was talking to. I like the performances. Sure, there you go. Got a crush on Humphrey Bogart or something. Humphrey Bogart reference in 2086. He's a handsome man. But it's not the actors I like so much as their performance. The truth is, besides father, I have very little experience when it comes to people. I hadn't noticed. I read the net, and I watch people and what they share of their lives. But it's all so subtle, so hard to follow. There are so many unspoken rules that can't be taught, only learned, and... she's autistic-coded. I often struggle to grasp them. You're all so complex, so detailed. But the characters on screen are exaggerated, larger than life. The actors enunciate. Their body language is precise and meaningful. Their faces are bright and softly lit, and their eyes are... It's fiction. So these characters and their stories, they have a beginning, a middle, and end. And the people on screen don't ask anything of you except your attention. You can't disappoint them or make them feel awkward. You can just watch and learn. But what about you, Adonai? What about me? Do you like movies? Yeah, sure, back when I was a kid. Really? Who was your favorite director? What was your favorite film? Well, as far as directors go, she was a kid. It was a long time ago. I don't remember. 6:05 p.m., July 1st. State Building. Floor 48. Things are quieter than I expected here at the courthouse. Though I've always felt courthouse is a bit of a misnomer. Government building is probably the best way to describe these towers, all-encompassing and impenetrably vague. 100 floors of officials and documents and paper-pushing queues, with a couple dozen courtrooms squeezed in along the way. Didn't think I'd be arguing in court when I woke up today. Didn't think that my friend would be dead, or that he'd have thrust an android onto my lap either. I could just walk in there and concede. Emma would be irritated and more than a little confused, but I could play it off as an exercise in grief. The android would complain, loudly, of course, but I wouldn't have to listen to it. Now that it's registered in my name, I could probably just order the damn thing to reset its memory. But I haven't done that. And I guess I don't plan to. Why? It must be because I have my suspicions as well. Sarah insists that David would never commit suicide, and I haven't actually stopped to ask myself whether or not I agree. David was rational, subdued, private, hard on himself, and not prone to emotional outbursts. So maybe that's why I'm finding myself outside a courtroom, prepared to humor and add suspicions before the state. Because I don't really believe David killed himself either. What's your progress bar at? I can confirm that I am making progress. Well, shit, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But it would be difficult to summarize that progress in terms of a completion percent. Give it your best shot anyway. 4%. But it's exponential. Are you feeling confident in your case? Markedly less so after hearing that. Do you think the judge will be amenable to your argument? What are you talking about? Do you know the judge we've been assigned? Are they particularly lenient or strict? Is there even going to be a human judge at all? Adjutants are always a coin flip, so... You do know what an adjutant is, don't you? She's been trained on, century-old courtroom films. Are you expecting to see a bearded old man with a robe and gavel when we get in there? Ace Attorney reference. Should I not? Adjutants are android judges, okay? With all the authority that entails. Commercial name for automated dependent judicial models. Adjutants are automated dependents that preside over trials for the state. While most adjutants are designed and sold as software and then loaded onto courthouse-specific hardware, including android bodies, they can interpret trial proceedings and render judgment based entirely on stenographer records, if need be, ruling on cases in an entirely digital capacity. Reviews of adjutants by third parties has shown that they are overwhelmingly more equitable and even-handed in their sentencing than human judges. Because they cannot be bribed or intimidated, adjutants are especially preferred for cases involving organized crime or corporate misconduct. Adjutants use a 9-fold personality engram for rendering their judgments and building consensus, known as the nonary system among software engineers. Is that a Zero Escape reference or just a coincidence in name? Because each of these 9 personas are constructed by a different think tank or institution from across the political spectrum, ideological contamination in adjutant units is practically impossible. There have been a small number of reported cases where nonary processing has borne particularly enthusiastic or eccentric personas, presumably in an unorthodox, if not effective, attempt to reconcile particularly disparate opinions across their 9 constituent personalities with a single, authoritative, loud voice. With the state's court backlog essentially cleared for the past half-decade, questions arose as to the continued need for adjutants to lighten the judicial system's human resource burden. But the Senate Investigative Committee, 74JD91, determined that removing adjutants from legal systems would be prohibitively expensive at this point. Yeah, that is a good writing tactic. She's the clueless newbie that everything has to be explained to. I am surprised to hear that people are willing to accept rulings made by automated dependents. Rulings come from landmark cases in the higher courts. Those are passed down by actual judges, real people with decades of study and experience. But not every eviction case or traffic ticket that ends up in court requires years of legal expertise. Sometimes all you need is a referee and a sentencing algorithm. So, androids are used to reduce caseload? Been that way for decades. For one thing, adjutants don't have lunch breaks to shift rulings around. But how is a law that replaced judges ever enforced? Wouldn't there be injunctions? Stalling? Judges did fight it for years at every level and in every theater. But the public lost their patience for that kind of obstruction during the 60s. The state needed to shred budgets across the board. And so, judges that couldn't be replaced by years of legal battles were instead ushered into early retirement by the unrelenting force of our great nation's accountants. And it's not controversial? Having machines determine sentencing for human beings. Whatever controversy there is, it gets aimed at the machines, not the people who put them there. I'm still a little unclear on the level of personhood your average android has. Like, clearly Sarah is a person. Sarah's custom built to be a person. I'm not sure Morgan could order her to wipe her memory. I think there's probably tenets that force her to obey, but I'm not sure how much control Morgan actually has over Sarah. But other androids, how much of a dynamic personality do they have? How much, Sarah also clearly feels emotions at some level. How many emotions does your average ad have? It'll be interesting to find out. And the machines can't lose sleep over it. Besides, it used to be that even the most high profile of crimes wouldn't get a court date until weeks or months later. Nowadays, most crimes are prosecuted within a single business week. And that's not rushing things? Keeps people in my line of work on their toes, that's for sure. I'm just surprised to hear that there's so much haste. Don't they teach you about classical conditioning in android school? You gotta feed the dog immediately after you ring the bell. If punishment doesn't follow the crime in quick succession, the lesson doesn't stick. I see. But if adjutants are so effective, why aren't they used in every trial? Why aren't they used in politics? That's a logical question to ask. And the answer is that logic only gets you so far when it comes to people. Doesn't everyone want the courts to be as just as possible? If adjutants are truly impartial and incorruptible. Everyone wants justice, sure, but there are other considerations to be had, such as disgust. What? That's all people really care about, what all their morals boil down to. Just what they do or don't find disgusting. Yeah, and even if the tenants force them to obey instructions, are they still like people apart from that? How much so? Like, it'll be interesting to see how this is established, like how unique Sarah is, and how advanced of an android model she actually is. Just what they do or don't find disgusting. Only problem is, everything's more palatable when viewed through a screen. So when everyone sees the world through AR and cameras, and no one ever gets dirt under their fingernails, you'd be surprised what you can get away with. I don't understand. Yeah, well, therein lies the problem. "6:24 p.m. Firm 48D. Hi, Emma. Just a preliminary hearing, huh? You wouldn't know it from the look on her face. It would be completely out of left field and not going to happen, but it would be very funny for Emma Frost to get a skin of this Emma in Marvel Rivals. Just a preliminary hearing, huh? You wouldn't know it from the look on her face. But I shouldn't have expected any leeway once we stepped into the courtroom. Not with her. That's the adjutant up there? Is it asleep? It's loading. That's an interesting judge design. It needs to load? Don't be rude. Not every ad can afford to be decked out as extravagantly as you. Especially not those the state buys in bulk. There's an audience. You mean the gallery? That's nothing. It could have been a lot worse. Word of any trial in the case of David Asher's death must have spread like wildfire, even a mock trial like this one. Detectives like Reyes or London would get chewed out for leaking things to the press, but uniformed officers had little to lose and a lot to gain by dropping a text to their attentive friends in the media. And then there's the corporate plants. Interns usually, preferably ones with modded eyes. It's illegal to film inside a courtroom, but this is the year 2086. Things are going to get out one way or another. I don't like having my face on camera. I don't like attention in general. Yeah, you wouldn't. But I'm not such a coward that I'd skip David's funeral just because there'd be paparazzi outside of it. Oh, you're viewing this as his funeral. One sec, get a sneeze. This is also an interesting day to muse about android personhood because I just watched The Wild Robot with Heiko last night, which was amazing, by the way. My pretty little likeness was going to end up in the background of some tabloid photograph one way or another by the end of this circus. At least this way, it's decent marketing for my legal services. What will happen once the adjutant finishes loading? How will the trial proceed? With all those films you watch, I'd figure that you could extrapolate. I am asking so as to correct any misconceptions. Well, not everything you saw on the silver screen is outdated. The court will come to order, and there will be a clarification of the charges. The defense enters a plea, and if it's not guilty, the prosecution begins making their case. That means calling witnesses to the stand, correct? Mostly. Sometimes they'll testify virtually from a separate location. Depends on the security concerns surrounding the particular individual and the case. What do you do then? Sit here and watch? Not if I want to get paid. I cross-examine witnesses after the prosecution are done questioning them. I can present evidence or witnesses of my own in response, as long as I have discovery backing me. You've said that before. Discovery means just that I can't pull stuff out of my pockets and present it without any kind of context. I have to have proof that I acquired it legally during the course of my investigation. Most of the time, that means having recordings of witnesses that can verify my investigation, which I can provide. You didn't think I was letting you tag along because I liked you, did you? Oof. And the jury? I don't see where they would sit. The jury hasn't sat in the actual courtroom for years now. They have their own chambers, where they watch a feed of the trial's proceedings in anonymity. That's with people walking around with cameras in their eye sockets, that's probably a good idea, actually, to prevent jurors from being identified and threatened. Of all the cyberpunk dystopia things, that one actually seems kind of sensible. Like, I actually don't have a problem with that. Because you know that's what would happen. With all the people with cameras in their eye sockets, the jurors would be identified immediately and pressure would be put on them from outside sources. They have their own chambers, where they watch a feed of the trial's proceedings in anonymity. And that's not an issue? Don't people want to look someone in the eye before passing judgment on them? You've got an old-fashioned sense of justice, don't you? But there's no jury in a preliminary hearing anyway. It's only meant to evaluate whether or not the prosecution has enough evidence to go to trial. A mere formality in today's day and age. With tools like optics and arcs, there's never any shortage of evidence to work with. So all you have to do today is convince the adjutant? Easier said than done. Adjutants lean heavily towards evidence over arguments. And right now, all the evidence suggests that David killed himself. If it's going to be an uphill battle, I can't afford to stumble. Excuse me. I need to focus on establishing an alternate interpretation of the facts, and it needs to be solid. But I don't have a suspect, or even a motive for killing David. Yet. Anyway, I'll need to be sharp. Emma doesn't play nice enough for me to be anything less. I think it's waking up. This third lower court is now in session. Adjutant AD-84 presiding. I call to order the case of the People versus Asher. Do the people wish to make an opening statement? No, Your Honor. No point in bothering when it's just the adjutant here. Very well. Do the defense wish to make an opening statement? Not at this time, Your Honor. Might as well ring the bell and get this shit show started. If neither the people nor the defense wish to make an opening statement, then it falls to me to set the stage. Oh, eccentric personality time? My model name is Adjutant. My unit designation code is AD-84. I am a machine, an automated dependent, and I serve the state by presiding over trials. You might find yourself wondering, why? What gives a machine the right to judge a human? A fair question, but the answer is simple. In every culture, in every society, no matter how it is worshipped, enshrined, or deified, justice has one defining quality. A heartbeat sound effect. Justice is beautiful. Oh, here we go. Like a balanced equation, like the golden ratio, like the Vitruvian man. Justice is beautiful. So what gives me the right? This gorgeous bod, oh boy. Whatever, forget it. Forget I said anything. I was trying to lighten the mood, but I can see everyone hates me. Do the trial without me. They're guilty or whatever. Your Honor. Wait, what the flip? This defendant's already dead. Why are we doing this? Is this a debug thing? Because I'll log the error if I need to. No, Your Honor. This is a preliminary hearing to determine whether David Asher did in fact commit suicide as he... Hama. I get it. You want to make sure he wasn't cuckoo in the cranium before you cut up his will like a T-bone. I didn't realize that adjutants were so lively. AD84. 8 equals H, 4 equals D, ADHD. Oh, God. They aren't. They're supposed to be austere and statuesque. Looks like we got served the most in need of repairs adjutant the court system could find. Whatever paper pusher we rushed to get this trial going must have wanted a little payback for the kindness. What's that look for? Could it be you're trying to size me up? Wouldn't dream of it, Your Honor. Good, because if you have doubts about my ability to run this trial, I could always just enact summary judgment here and now. I'm sure you'd find my ruling to be fair and even-handed. That won't be necessary, Your Honor. She's much more of a character than I'm used to seeing up there, even counting all the flesh and blood judges I've met. But she's still just an adjutant. She'll follow the evidence where it leads. So as long as I can make a few adjustments for the occasional outburst from the bench, my plan's still workable. So, people, shall we get started with that first witness? Right away, Your Honor. The people call Dr. Yumi Sato to the stand. Right away, huh? It's Yumi. Hey. So how about it, pretty lady? You swear to tell the whole and unadulterated truth to the best of your ability? I do. Good enough for me. Dr. Sato, you were in charge of the autopsy for David Asher, were you not? I was. And when did you make your examination? I started last night. Well, technically, 1 a.m. would be very early this morning. I think you can still say last night if you're talking about 1 in the morning. Objection! The defense will have their opportunity to cross-examine. Until then, they should refrain from making errant remarks. The hell? All I said was... Yeah, what she said. You mean sustained? Don't get cute with me, counselor. I just lost chips from the story? Being cute is my job. God damn, we've barely gotten started. That seemed pretty bad, Adonai. Making mistakes will increase your blind. Blind is how much credit you'll lose for answering incorrectly when you yourself aren't controlling the ante. Oh, interesting. Okay, so if I get everything right, I still lose chips from the story, but I'll only lose a certain number. If I get things wrong, I start losing more chips when story things come up. I'm not sure I like that, because that's a little out of the player control, where you automatically lose chips over time. Blind increments on its own throughout the trial as the stakes get higher, but resets at the end of each day. Blind starts out and caps out at a higher number if you're playing in high roller. Mind the blind number in the top left when it appears. It helps you gauge what you stand to lose. We should try to avoid being penalized in the future. Thanks for the tip. Shake it off. I'll get my chance to raise objections of my own soon enough. Dr. Sato, were you able to determine the cause of death? He passed away due to respiratory failure. Could you explain what that means to the court? The narrative losses aren't that common? Okay. Essentially, he wasn't getting enough oxygen into his blood. It seems by the time he arrived at the hospital, he was no longer breathing. What does respiratory failure look like? What are the symptoms? There would be lightheadedness, dizziness, fainting, pale skin, and a bluish tinge around certain extremities. And the condition he was in matched those symptoms? Correct. In your experience, what are the most common causes of respiratory failure? It can be caused by injury or disease, but the subject had no wounds or reported illnesses, and otherwise appeared to be perfectly healthy. And what else could cause respiratory failure then? It is also commonly seen in fatal drug overdoses. Drug overdoses. Did you perform a tox screen on Dr. Asher? Yes, but his tox screen came back clean. Whatever killed him, it wasn't something we've encountered before. Wait, a clean tox screen? Clean? Dialogue will proceed automatically during testimony, but you can still choose to advance text manually with continue. You'll need to read carefully and wait for the witness to make a statement that sounds wrong. Then hit the call button to call their bluff. Hover over the call button or toggle on Insight to focus on the claims within a witness statement. Insight can be disabled in settings. Testimony will loop until you call. Can't let this chance slip by. You need to catch her mistake the second it comes out of her mouth. He passed away due to respiratory failure. Essentially, he wasn't getting enough oxygen to his blood. He would have experienced lightheadedness, dizziness, and fainting. As the subject was healthy, the respiratory failure must be attributed to a drug overdose. But when a tox screen was run to the hospital, it came back clean. It was puzzling, to say the least. Something she said just now doesn't make sense. I have evidence that directly contradicts her, so I just need to find the right moment to present it. Okay, I'm going to look at the evidence again. The three things were David's cup, toxicology tests have proven inconclusive. Okay, David's contract, David's cup, and whiskey. Okay, so hover and call highlights. Using the call in a statement, you need to respond with evidence. Look over the three cards that show up and confirm your card before the timer runs out. You're joking, right? Just trying to keep things light. Well, shit. But that's supposed to be my job. So quit scatting. Overruled. Okay. Oh, it's forcing me to... Whiskey, David's contract, upright cup. Okay. Failure. Oh, it came out clean. It would have been the whiskey, because... There we go. It's impossible for David Asher's talk screen to be clean, and we all know it, since he was on camera drinking alcohol the night that he died. Ah, that makes sense. And that scared you? Successfully object to testimony for the first time. Cool. The witness merely misspoke, Your Honor. As it plainly states on the talks report itself, Dr. Asher did have alcohol in his blood, but not at such a concentration as to be lethal. Yeah, my bad. When I said the talk screen was clean, I just meant it didn't tell the attending physicians anything they didn't already know. Overall, a little more nitpicky than I like to be, but at least I was able to balance the momentum, more or less. Shall we continue, Dr. Sato? If the talk screens were negative for pharmaceuticals and drugs, what caused Dr. Asher's respiratory failure? During my autopsy, I analyzed his blood and was able to isolate a foreign compound. So there was a lethal dose of a drug inside his body. It just happened to be a drug that the hospital had never encountered before. That's correct. I think we're all going to get tired pretty fast if we don't at least pick a placeholder name for this substance, Your Honor. The people don't object, Your Honor. In that case, I'll put all my creative heuristics to work coming up with an original, scientific, fitting name for this substance. A name like Omega. Omega-3. Isn't that like an actual protein? Or something? Omega-3 fatty acids? That name is already taken. Fine, call it Delta or whatever. Delta, used in science to denote an unknown variable. Not bad. Delta has other meanings when it comes to drugs. But yeah, our Delta matches no known public pharmacology or toxicology records. That being said, chemically, it does have all the hallmarks of a general depressant. I know the feeling. So it stands to reason that it would exhibit a similar effect on the body when ingested. You say ingested. Why? I eliminated all other possibilities during my examination of the body. He must have swallowed it, and judging from his stomach contents, it must have been a liquid. Thank you, Dr. Sato. Shall I summarize things for the court? Yes, please. I wasn't listening that closely. The victim died of respiratory failure, and his talk screen showed that his blood was clear of anything that could cause respiratory failure, except for this unknown substance, the poison we've labeled Delta. Well, that sounds like a textbook suicide. Should we wrap it up here? Not quite yet, Your Honor. This may clearly be a poisoning, but there's at least one detail about this case that doesn't feel like a suicide at all. Young's testimony. Drank with David before he died. Didn't see him add anything corroborated by cam footage. The people shouldn't get ahead of themselves. There's nothing textbook about a supposed suicide that had a witness sitting there watching it happen. As you say. Well, now I'm lost. Was this poisoning a suicide or not? If that's the case, then perhaps we should give the defense the opportunity to cross-examine. Unless they're going to insist on testifying themselves. How kind of you to offer. Ball's in my court now, so how do I counter? Emma's argument basically goes as follows. David ingested the Delta knowingly, and the Delta caused his respiratory failure. He died of respiratory failure, thus David committed suicide. During blackjack, every piece of information you learn deals you a card. Choose only the questions that are logical and relevant, and only press if you think a line of questioning is worth continuing. If I go over, I get penalized. Interesting. Or else you'll go bust and lose credit. Select the press option to see what the follow-up question would be. You can only win blackjack when you reach exactly 21. So don't press further if you're already there. And don't ask the wrong questions. Okay, unlike Phoenix Wright, you can't ask too many questions. With my cross-examination, I need to put a microscope over the weakest part of that argument and hope that some cracks will appear under pressure. Oh, interesting. Are you sure Delta is to blame? Dr. Sato, you were only able to even identify the presence of this Delta after hours of work. Can you really be sure that this never-before-seen chemical can cause respiratory failure? The playing card of Morgan's that keeps appearing has Red-Eyed Morgan on top and Black-Eyed Morgan on bottom. Oh, that's a nice touch. Well, I have had time to run simulations, and they do give every indication that it would act as a depressant. Ingest enough of any depressant and respiratory failure would occur. I'll press. Only simulations. You've ran simulations. So you haven't tested Delta on an actual person? No, I haven't. That would be very difficult to do given our extremely limited sample. Not to mention highly unethical. Of course. But without such a test, you don't actually know for sure that Delta can cause any of the symptoms you've described. Was there a question in that statement, Counselor? You don't actually know for sure, do you? No. Not yet, anyway. Are you sure it was ingested? Dr. Sato, you said that the subject had to have ingested the Delta orally. But how sure can we actually be about that? Pretty sure? I mean, I could go into detail about all the cavities that I checked, but... Yeah, I'll press. Was it knowingly ingested? But how sure can we be that the subject ingested the Delta knowingly? Well, we can't be sure of that. Certainly not just from an autopsy. You said it must have been a liquid, yes? Would it have been a large amount? Depends on the concentration of the delivery solution. It could have been just a drop. The kind of thing that could easily go unnoticed, yes? Calls for speculation, Your Honor? Withdrawn. Oh man, I wanted to jump on her case. Seems like that's... blackjack. Thank you for your time, Dr. Sato. We all appreciate it. But it does seem like we're still in the dark about many details regarding Dr. Asher's death, wouldn't you say? Well, poisoning via the compound we're calling Delta is still the most likely explanation. So there are other explanations for what happened? Defense is calling for speculation, Your Honor. It's not speculation when a medical examiner is attempting to explain the cause of death, Your Honor. The witness will answer the question. Well, respiratory failure can be caused by illnesses. If he had undiagnosed pneumonia or some other disease and his respiratory system was weakened. Undiagnosed pneumonia, with his level of health care, it is technically possible. I'll take it. I have no more questions for this witness. That felt weak, but I can't be picky when I'm stalling for time. Seeding doubt wherever I can, however I can, is just about all I can manage. Detective Reyes, you were one of the leads in investigating this crime scene. Yes, ma'am. And did you interview the EMTs who first arrived on the scene? I did. They responded to an emergency signal from the home security console, located in the kitchen. What did they find when they arrived on the scene? The victim was unconscious on the floor of his parlor. He was receiving CPR from a witness, the individual who had called them. Now that I hadn't heard before. They were both airlifted to Gatesfield Memorial Hospital, and Dr. Asher was declared dead shortly after arriving there. She's actually handling herself pretty well up on the stand. I half expected her to roll her eyes during the swearing in. But when you take into consideration her love for boot-heel authority, she might be right at home here in the courtroom, the very seat of the state's power over the people. The witness met with the deceased about a half hour before he fell ill, from 7:30 to 8 p.m. The two of them talked for some time and shared a drink. Shortly after, Dr. Asher became distracted, lightheaded, and eventually non-responsive. And during the same time period, drinking the same liquor, this witness exhibited no symptoms themselves? None. Through a collaborative effort with Noble Electronics Security Division, we searched the entire building. But we found nothing unusual in any of the food or drink on the premises, including the bottle that the witness and the deceased drank from. So what was your ultimate conclusion after investigating the scene? The whiskey bottle was clean, the witness's drink was clean. Only person who got sick was Dr. Asher, drinking from a cup that he had prepared. So it was our determination that David Asher committed suicide by poisoning himself. She's pretty tight-lipped up there, but I think she slipped up at least once. The police want to claim that they've eliminated every other possibility and covered every angle. But I know that there are a number of blind spots that they're not willing to admit to. David's cup, poison. It'll be David's cup. Asher met with the witness at 7:30 p.m. last night. By 8 p.m. he was dead. He's the one who prepared their drinks. And there was no opportunity for the witness to ever slip him something. He drank from a cup that he himself poisoned. Seems pretty cut and dry if you ask me. Okay, the cup that he himself poisoned is what I'm going to call out. But just to be sure, we scanned the kitchen, the lab, the basement. And there was no poison anywhere else. She slipped up there and made a claim she can't actually support. All I need to do is point it out, and then I'll get to watch her self-destruct, which should be fun. You can't make that claim, not when the evidence record clearly shows that tests of Dr. Asher's cup were inconclusive. The police can't claim he drank from a poisoned cup without first proving that his cup was, in fact, poisoned. You're talking a lot of sense, lady. Does it resolve, or do you have a response, D.A. Rockford? Testing on the deceased cup has been inconclusive so far, Your Honor. I don't dispute that. Though I'd be surprised if the defense has any idea how else the poison could have possibly been delivered to Dr. Asher alone. Not at this time, but that's the funny thing about the burden of proof. It's not on the defense, as we're all aware. Right, we all knew that. I definitely knew that. Are you playing a Switch? Now, if the people are done bemoaning that pesky innocent until proven guilty issue, perhaps I could begin my cross-examination. Fire away, baby. Fire away? Baby? Reyes' testimony is meant to show that David's the only one who could have poisoned himself. She'll be on guard and hard set against helping me, but if I keep her focused on eliminating other possibilities, I could get her to make my point for me before she even realizes what's happened. Ever seen poisoning himself, or could he have been poisoned off camera? Anyone else in the building might come up in a minute. Could he have been poisoned off camera? Hang on. What's the exact phrasing? Okay. Could he have been poisoned off camera? Detective, isn't it possible that Dr. Asher was poisoned off camera? Possible? I don't know how else it would have been done. But that just goes to show it had to have been suicide. The only time he was off camera, he was all by himself. Shit, that's not where I wanted to lead the conversation. It might certainly seem that way, yes. Ever seen poisoning himself? Detective, we've been doing a lot of assuming and reasoning in quick succession, so I'll ask this plainly for the court. Is there any photographic evidence showing David Asher adding anything to his drink that night? No. Seems he had already poured for the both of them by the time he returned to the parlor. He had already poured? In that case, the next questions need to be when and what. Oh, it's highlighted. Any poison in the kitchen? Detective Reyes, during the course of your investigation, did you find any samples of Delta in the kitchen or parlor? No. That was a fast answer. Well, it was a pretty easy question. If we had found poison at the scene of the crime, that'd be pretty important, don't you think? What about in his lab, his bedroom, his basement? No, no, and no. We didn't find Delta or any other unusual substance in any part of his penthouse. Right. They never found any poison. No poison at all? What about a poison container? At any point in the investigation was poison found on the body of the deceased? No? He must have been searched. Did he have any capsules or vials? Eyedroppers? Didn't even have his wallet on him. Why? Does this mean that I can press further and ask more questions about any poison in the kitchen? Or is that just there because I already unlocked it? Because we already clicked any poison in the kitchen. That's an actual question. So it is something I can press further on. Find any samples of Delta in the kitchen or parlor? No. Oh, it just repeats this. Okay. All right. Anyone else in the building? The only people you saw on the cameras that night were Dr. Asher and this witness, correct? Yeah, there was no footage in the house of anyone else. Are there any parts of the house that aren't recorded by camera? Sure. There are a number of rooms in the home's interior that don't have cameras in them. So it's possible that there were other people there that night, because cameras weren't watching every room. No, that's not possible. The only way up to the penthouse is through the building's elevator or the fire escape stairs, both of which are on camera. And that still wouldn't get you past his front door, which is also on camera. No one besides the two of them was there that day. Thank you for enlightening the court about this point, Detective. What point? Well, I think it's strange, don't you, Detective? I mean, how could he have possibly poisoned himself without first procuring some poison? What do you mean, procure? Where did it come from, Detective? The poison that you're so sure was dissolved in his drink. It can't have come from thin air, you understand? It had to have been in another container at some point. Whatever it was in before, it probably evaporated. All of it? It only took a small droplet to kill. Your Honor, are you going to ask them to keep it civil? In a minute, sure. There wasn't any pill bottle in his bathroom or syringe in his pocket containing this apparently deadly substance. So how did he get it? What did he keep it in? The police want to claim that Dr. Asher committed suicide because they've established that his guest never had an opportunity to kill him. But they failed to prove that the victim had the means to kill himself. Then I guess I'll be the one to move things along. The Delta didn't come out of thin air, Counselor. Oh, what do you know? And it didn't come from a syringe either. Dr. Asher was able to drip the poison right into his cup, straight from the source. Shit. That's way too specific to be a bluff. Allow me to submit into evidence Exhibit G. a piece of machinery found in Dr. Asher's laboratory. Sold under the product name Nanofacturer. Oh, I know this one. It's used in delicate scientific work to produce nanomachines, chemical compounds, and polymers. That's the same machine I saw when Dawes gave me a tour of the production floor. It would have records of what it produced, though. Very good, Your Honor. It's a valuable tool in any scientific laboratory, and Dr. Asher was well acquainted with its use. As a matter of fact, he had a number of presets coded into it. Even the android can see where this is going. With just a few taps, he could reproduce any number of specific substances for his research. Or any other chemical his heart desired, really. You think Randolph Mechanics would allow their product to be used to produce illicit chemicals? Excuse me. Using the Nanofacturer to make unlicensed drugs does go against their terms and conditions, so Dr. Asher's warranty is certainly null and void. But they can't hard-code their machines to prevent the production of a drug that hasn't been invented yet. Dr. Asher died when his respiratory system failed because of a depressant overdose. For him, it would have been peaceful, like falling asleep. You see, he didn't need to commission a synthetic drug for some street vendor or order an exotic poison from overseas. He could produce Delta at any time in the comfort of his own home. A quick and painless death, readily available in under a minute at the touch of a button. Specifically, preset number 19. Damn. I thought I actually had something for a moment there, but I was playing into Emma's hand the entire time. Seems like we're done with this witness, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am. But before we move on, perhaps we should take a moment and put together a timeline of events as we know them. Not for me, of course, just in case someone else might need it. Oh yeah, sure. Adjutant, you... What does that say on the back of your shirt, 8084? Simple enough. We know that Dr. Asher left the parlor and went down to the basement at 7:36 p.m. Weep, laugh, mourn, dance, toss, gather, embrace, refrain, seek, lose, keep, cast, tear, sow, silence, speak, 404, hate, war, peace, born, die, plant, pluck, kill, heal, break, build, and it repeats. That's where he got the whiskey and the cups they drank from. The cameras show him returning to the parlor to drink with the witness at 7:40 p.m. And of course, we know that he fell ill and passed away shortly thereafter. Any objections so far, Counselor? Oh, profiles. 80. Date of birth, September 2nd. Date of birth for an adjutant. Okay. Occupation, automated dependent adjutant. Likes raw salmon, running water, and gymnastics. Dislikes criminals, contrarians, and pigeons. Sign, Libra, self-assigned. Type, open, obedient, observant, O people. 3 sizes. Oh, boy. When did you have the chance to interview her, Sarah? A machine capable of assembling organic or inorganic compounds and even nanomachines after just 2 minutes of vacuum-sealed mixing. Found at Noble's factory show floor as well as inside David Asher's personal lab. Presets on David's model's history exist for a compound identical to the substance found in his bloodstream after his death. Where he left to retrieve liquor from his basement at 7:36. Upon returning at 7:40, the gentleman continued speaking, fell lethargic and disoriented shortly after 8, lost consciousness at 8:03. EMS were called from the emergency console. That's all correct. Excuse me. Not at this time, no. The timeline you've described is accurate, as we know it. As you say. With this latest piece of evidence, we now know that Asher could have easily dispensed the poison directly into his cup by placing it inside the manufacturer, activating the preset, and simply waiting 2 minutes. Easily accomplished during the 4 minutes he spent off camera from 7:36 to 7:40. Wouldn't you say? Ooh, a complete timeline of events. He had the means, he had the only opportunity. Seems like we're about ready to wrap up here, no? Where are we on that loading bar of yours, Sarah? Adonai, I had a feeling you'd say that. Well, Counselor, are we done here? Emma's argument is missing something. Hang on, I'm going to save. Feels like we're missing at least one biggie here, folks. Namely, motive. Oh, right. I knew that. I wasn't getting excited to finish early or anything. This is a preliminary hearing, Counselor. Our focus should be on the evidence, so... Just feels like an awful waste of taxpayer dollars to get us all down here for debate and not get to the truth of the matter, you know? So, I was hoping we wouldn't have to go through this next part. What are you talking about? Your Honor, if it pleases the court. Ooh, new evidence. Gimme. Oh, the evidence of the breakup, right. This is a recording of a phone conversation, dated at 6:30 p.m. last night, between the deceased and a man he was in a relationship with. A man named Isaac Porter. Porter and David's breakup call? If Emma wants to present it here, now, then the content must be... Relevance, Your Honor? Yeah, that. What bearing does this recording have on the case at hand? It establishes what emotional state the deceased was in on the day he died. Cool. Begin playback. Hello? Always so soft-spoken. Isaac, you there? Yeah, I'm here. Oh. David was Pookie in Isaac's phone. What's wrong? Don't know. Guess I wasn't expecting you to pick up. Why not? Did you mean to call me? Yeah, I did. You gonna ask me how I've been? Yeah. How have you been? Christ, David. What's the matter? Whatever it is, whatever I did, I'm sorry. Whatever you did, it's all right, man. I'm sure you are sorry. I just don't want any more apologies from you. I'm sorry. Okay. And I don't think I want anything from you anymore, David. What do you mean? I shouldn't have done this. This was unnecessary. My bad, man, for not taking the hints. With you, it's always better left unsaid, right? More efficient that way, so you can keep working. Isaac, if I've been distant with you, or... No, you haven't been distant with me, or cold with me, or anything with me for a while now. Isaac, just forget it, man. Forget I called. Forget it all, yeah? Let's just forget we were ever anything but strangers. That's all we are now anyway. Isaac, recently I've been distracted, I know. Nah, don't worry about it. Really, we're good. Oh, okay. So do you need anything, or should I... Where did you even get this? All of Dr. Asher's incoming and outgoing phone calls were recorded by the building's penumbra system. And the recording continued for several seconds after each call was ended, for quality assurance. Remind me to check the terms and conditions on my next phone bill. Shall we hear the rest? Gotta be the last time. The last time I let someone... The last time. Father. It might just be a call, but it makes for pretty damning evidence at this point in the discussion. Emma's got her means, opportunity, and motive all lined up. So why is she looking at me like that? That was depressing. Can we finish up without anything else that horrible? Emma's never been apologetic in victory. So does that mean this is just pity? She doesn't like that. Less than 2 hours before Dr. Asher died, Isaac Porter ended their relationship over the phone. The court can make a reasonable assumption about what kind of mental state Dr. Asher was in last night. That was a bad move, Miss Rockford. Then, if the people have nothing further to add, I've been feeling off my game all day, caught between corporate inbreeders and ant-brained protesters, but pitying me, here and now, that's all it takes to get my blood properly boiling. It's about time for me to call my first witness, no? You want to keep going after that? What are you doing, counselor? Just calling the ultimate silver bullet, rock-solid, slam-dunk witness a girl could ask for. Is here good? Does it matter where I put my hands? Miss Starling, thank you for coming here today. Of course. Whatever I can do. What is your relation to the deceased? I was his executive assistant at Noble Electronics. I would arrange his meetings, coordinate communications between him and other departments. That sort of thing. Ultimate silver bullet? Starling's the only play I have right now. The only stalling tool I have left. For now, I should just focus on getting as much information from her as possible. Whether or not it's useful, it'll at least buy me some time. While Jess was being sworn in, Sarah mentioned that the hard drive's about 60% decrypted. Considering the rate Sarah's gone at so far, there's maybe another hour left. I might be able to stall that long, if I talk real slow. I'd like to ask you a few questions about Dr. Asher. Please answer them to the best of your ability. Right. Dr. Asher was a well-known public figure, but was he well regarded professionally? Of course. Dr. Asher's work set the bar for the entire automated dependent world. Aw, Sarah, stay focused, Spearmint. You say you coordinated his communications. Were there ever threats? Did people ever express an intent to harm him? Objection. Calls for speculation. Intent? I'm feeling like that's going to be sustained. Did anyone ever threaten him? There were times when he was the focus of negative attention. How so? Dr. Asher was a favorite subject of many conspiracy theorists. With all his contributions to the field, it was easy for them to make claims about his influence. They'd say that his work was plagiarized, or that he was hiding illegal subcommands in the technology he helped develop. And people would contact him about these conspiracy theories. Relevance. Whether or not people wanted to kill him. Well, withdrawn. Miss Starling. People would attempt to contact him, yes. But their messages were always too vague for the police to take action on. They would say that he belonged in jail, or that he couldn't avoid the truth, or that someone should do something to shut him up. Did they ever talk about hurting him? Yes. But I always turn those messages straight over to the police. Yeah, I'm seeing that on the record. Yeesh, who writes this stuff? All those cases have long since been resolved, Your Honor, and none of the parties involved have had contact with David Asher in years. The police take harassment very seriously. Something you want to add, Counselor? Just clearing my throat. May I continue? Jessica Starling testifies that David Asher had experienced harassment and stalking from conspiracy theorists throughout his career at Noble. All phone calls received or made from inside the Noble Executive Apartment building that David Asher lived in are automatically intercepted and recorded by the building's penumbra security system. This is common knowledge among all Noble employees living in the facility. Isaac's call. Okay. Just clearing my throat. May I continue? You worked with Dr. Asher for many years. Did you have a relationship outside of work? Did you ever talk about anything besides professional concerns? Sure, we've gone out to dinner or met on the weekends. I think he liked to pick my brain, since he needed relationship advice a lot. Even if he didn't realize that was what he was asking for. I'd like to think that he knew he could talk to me, but... Did he ever talk to you, or to your knowledge anyone else, about hurting himself? God, no, never. Do you know of any history he might have had with mental illness? Depression, anxiety? No. So when you heard the people argue that Dr. Asher had done this to himself, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. You're saying that you can't believe? Objection. On what grounds? Asked and answered. Stalling. And also, the people have documents that would be of interest to the court in this matter. Oh? Spill 'em. Juicy. And what matter specifically are you referring to? The deceased mental health history. Emma wouldn't be speaking up if she didn't have something real. So what the hell is this about? We have private correspondences that describe if they're private, then they should not have been obtained by the people without his permission. He can't give permission if he's already dead, and we're well within our rights to obtain evidence as it pertains to his crime. Convincing. Damn, I didn't honestly expect to stop her from admitting her evidence into the record, but I was hoping to at least slow her. Where are you on that footage? 77%. Approximately. I need to buy whatever time I can, however I can. Even if that means running out the clock as a punching bag. I have here messages between Dr. Asher and a psychiatrist he was meeting with and speaking to for the past year, along with paperwork detailing how this treatment was covered under his Platinum plan. Used to schedule and pay for psychiatric appointments on several occasions in the last year. Platinum? I don't intend to air all of Dr. Asher's secrets here in the court. Oh, okay, I guess. But I am prepared to read excerpts from messages and transcripts from phone calls, which, when put together, paint a clear picture of the kind of stress David Asher was experiencing and the dark thoughts he was struggling with. Transcripts of his phone calls. I'll admit them into evidence, assuming there are no objections. I'm going to raise. Oh, the Justice statue has an AK-47. That's funny. And is clearly drunk. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Transcripts of the phone calls. It could be forcing me to spend some chips to stall for time. I'll gladly object. On the grounds of foundation. Where did you say you got this? It was retrieved from his digital records. There's no reason to doubt its authenticity. Even if I were to point out that David had an executive level 4 plan, not a platinum plan. What? Really? Really? Yes, really. It's all there in the record. This is easily explained. David had an executive plan that Noble managed for him. And he was also seeing this psychiatrist, both in person and over the phone. Your own witness has attested that he dealt with stalkers and was worried for his privacy. So it's easy enough to reason that he had a separate insurance policy he paid for on his own. Even if only to keep one thing out of Noble's grasp. Sure, easy enough to make that assumption, but that doesn't make it correct. David used a separate insurance to hide this psychiatrist from Noble's spying. No, he was smarter than that. All building calls recorded and monitored by Noble. Wait, hang on. David may very well have wanted a private psychiatrist, someone who didn't work for Noble, who would have his best interests at heart. But if so, he wouldn't have contacted them over the phone, not when he knew all his phone calls were being recorded. David Asher was well versed in having every aspect of his life overanalyzed by data-hungry parasites. Do you really think he would try and hide mental health problems from them with a second insurance policy? Apparently, yes, since I'm standing here with evidence that shows exactly that. Does it, though? Pardon me? Yeah, like, what exactly are you suggesting, counselor? Still not done decrypting? Well, it's difficult to... Right. What the hell? Might as well swing for the fences at this point. I'm not trying to muddle the issue or confuse the court, Your Honor. And I would never make outlandish, unsubstantiated claims just for the sake of causing drama. What are you... I'm merely concerned that D.A. Rockford has been an unwitting pawn in an act of corporate espionage. What? If the markets were to open Monday with people believing that David Asher, the man who programmed the brain of every noble android, was battling mental health issues for the last several months? Objection. Mischaracterization? Foundation? All the rest? There are no corporate spies in this courtroom, counselor, and there are no boogeymen hiding under the bench. Oh, thank God. David Asher was a once-in-a-generation intellect and an extremely valuable human asset to his employers. And his employer's many enemies would do whatever it takes to destroy his credibility now that he can't defend himself. And he was also your personal. You shouldn't even be here arguing this case in the first place, counselor. Now you're trying to call the police's evidence gathering into question? All because you can't admit that for the past several months your friend has been seeing a psychiatrist every Monday and you didn't know? That is... I'm sorry, but did you still need me up here? The witness will refrain from interrupting when girls are fighting. Yes, ma'am. With how my luck's been so far, Sarah's progress bar is probably moving backwards right about now. And Emma's patience is wearing thin. This could be my last shot to create any kind of reasonable doubt. Man, they're making this tense. They're really framing this as more dramatically difficult than the Ace Attorney game I played. And right out the gate, too. We're still on, the early stages in easy mode, but it feels like there's a lot at stake and it's difficult. With every question. The presentation is fantastic. And Emma's patience is wearing thin. This could be my last shot to create any kind of reasonable doubt. I'd be happy to wrap up my questioning, if the court will allow. That seems cool with me. And my evidence, Your Honor, will it be entered into the record? I'd like to hear a bit more testimony before deciding. That's fine, Your Honor. As you were, counselor. At this stage of the game, with the score where it's at, I can probably only ask one more question. Better make it count. So what can Starling tell us that no one else could? If she hadn't called me this morning, I wouldn't be standing here. And she only did that because... Miss Starling, we're all gathered here to try and figure out what happened to Dr. Asher last night. So please, tell us, when exactly did he last... Contact you. When was the last time you had contact with Dr. Asher, Miss Starling? Well, that's pretty easy to figure out. Let me just... Yeah, it was last night at 6:57 p.m. We texted back and forth. There are records of some texts, but they're flagged as work-related. Does the court really think they're relevant, Your Honor? Relevant? I'll raise. It could very well be the single most important piece of evidence in this whole trial. What? I just got chills! Dunno why, though. Must be a coolant leak. The defense doesn't know what they're talking about. On the contrary, these texts are a vital piece of evidence that change the timeline of events as we know them. Text messages from David Asher to Jessica Starling at 6:57 p.m. on the night he died. David asked her to set up a meeting between the two of them and Evangeline Morgan on Tuesday to handle the transfer of ownership for the android Sarah. Oh-ho! Alright, later, Blast You Boots. Thanks for hanging out. We know what happened to David last night, generally speaking, but the order of events is critical, especially if Emma wants to make claims about David's state of mind. Select and place cards from your hand onto the slots in chronological order, left to right. You can pick a card back up and place it in another slot if you change your mind, or use return to undo the last card you placed down. Fill all the slots to submit your answer. Okay. Might as well max out. Order of events. Okay, I thought so. Yes, that's it. Thanks to Miss Starling, we've now got a much clearer picture of the night's events. We know that Isaac Porter and David Asher broke up at 6:30 p.m. And I was rooting for them so hard. And we know that David... How were you rooting for them? You just found out about it. And we know that David messaged his assistant, Miss Starling, at 6:57 p.m. David is on camera with the witness from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And he was declared dead not long after. The people don't object to that timeline of events, but we do question Councillor Morgan's reason for belaboring it. One last question, Miss Starling. Yeah? What was the nature of your conversation with Dr. Asher? Well, actually, we talked about you. And how he wanted you to have his android. That android there. Putting his affairs in order, I guess. It might appear that way. Can you specify what his instructions were exactly? How did he want this done? Well, he wanted me to bring you to his penthouse and help you get set up as the android's new owner. Yes, Miss Starling, but when did he want this to happen? Well, he said it was pretty urgent, and so I should do it first thing Tuesday morning. Tuesday? First thing Tuesday morning. David Asher didn't like doing anything on Mondays. And was he going to be in attendance? Well, actually, yes. He said he would work from home to help us. No way he intended for us to have that much trouble getting to... Oh! To summarize, then, half an hour after he had already had his breakup and half an hour before his guest had arrived, he was planning an appointment that would require his presence with you for next Tuesday. That's right, he was. Not something you would think to do if you were planning on dying that very night. Yeah, you're right. That's... Your Honor, if David Asher was preparing for the week ahead a mere hour before he passed away, don't you think the people's assumptions about his mental state ought to be re-examined? That's... Your logic is sound. Do the people have a rebuttal? If the court will just allow a moment. Sounds like an opening to me. If we assume that Dr. Asher was not suicidal and therefore did not kill himself, we must then ask ourselves who else had the means, motive, and opportunity to take his life. Until now, we've taken for granted that this idea that the Delta must have come from his nanofacturer, from inside the house. Adonai. Not right now. But even if that's true, which it may not be, that doesn't mean that he was the one who used the nanofacturer. Adonai. Would you allow me one moment to confer, Your Honor? Sure, why not throw away your momentum? I'm in the middle of something, Sarah. I can't afford to let Rockford... I've gained access to the hard drive's files. What? Seriously? As I said, progress with this type of encryption is exponential. It can be difficult to estimate. Right, okay. Do you have the footage from last night? I have the file. Have you watched it? I thought you'd want to know right away. Suppose it doesn't matter. Either this has our silver bullet and we've got a case, or it doesn't and everything falls apart. That seems quite risky. It's the least risky path to victory we have. Seeing how it's the only path to victory we have. Screw it. Upload it to the court computer. Yes, Adonai. Thank you for your patience, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm awake, and I'm getting a pretty hefty chunk of video data for breakfast. You're submitting security footage into evidence? New security footage. The police corroborated the witness's testimony using the house's cameras. Security cameras installed by Noble as part of the penumbra system that showed the parlor, the kitchen, but not the basement. During the course of my investigation, I uncovered a hidden security circuit buried in the deceased's own home system. You what? The people say that the Delta must have been in Dr. Asher's cup because there's no other way for him to have ingested it. But we never saw him or anyone else put anything in his cup on camera. Because he must have poisoned his own drink off camera. Exactly. What? That's the only possible explanation, that he added the Delta to his drink off camera. He placed his cup inside the manufacturer, activated it, waited 2 minutes, and then walked upstairs to his death. But I'm about to present to the court footage retrieved from his basement. Footage that will show that by the time he retrieved the cups in the basement, it was already past 7:38, meaning he didn't have the opportunity to poison himself. One clip of footage will prove all that? If it doesn't, I'm completely screwed. But it's not like I can lose a preliminary hearing extra hard. Anything other than a royal flush here means I'm bust. So better to be the Joker who dances. All right, we get it, you're a gambler. The data has been entered into the court record. Sarah, show us when Dr. Asher entered the basement. Yes, Adonai. I'll search for it now. Here. On screen. That's the bar, and the timestamp is 7:36. There, David's grabbing the bottle of Loreweaver and leaving at 7:37. Just under the wire, as it were. Is that it, then? I came this far just to... Wait. Did he have the cups with him? Is there sound? None at all. Keep going. If he had to go back to get the cups. Counselor, what's that android doing on camera? Oh! I was kind of suspecting Sarah would be involved in this, but... Ooh, uh-oh. It's at the bar. The android gave him the cups. Shit. That machine never stepped on camera upstairs. Not once. We don't know its whereabouts the day of his death. It could have poisoned the cup whenever it wanted. Shit. What is this? I don't understand. Your Honor, have the courtroom cleared. Understood. Please, someone. I don't know what's going on. Sarah, you need to shut down. Please, tell me what I'm looking at. I don't remember any of that. Do we have callers available? Sarah, shut down now. Adonai, please, tell me what That's an order. Is it off? Yeah, it's off. I've seen this before. It won't do anything until I reactivate it. We don't know that. We don't know anything about this thing anymore. That's... Your Honor, in light of this most recent evidence, the people would like to withdraw their charges against Dr. Asher and end this preliminary hearing. It has been made abundantly clear that David Asher did not commit suicide. Very well, the charges are withdrawn and the defendant is free to go. Well, as free as he can be in the afterlife. This case is dismissed. Congratulations, Counselor Morgan. Yay, chalk up another victory for Morgan Esquire. Now all I have to do is deal with the shitstorm of the decade. 8:47 p.m. Well, that's trouble. Well, I managed to prove that David didn't kill himself, and in the process, I proved that his android did. I proved that the android that's been walking around with me all day is capable of murder. A killer robot. A true unbound AI with military-grade specs and at least one death to its name already. So much for avoiding the public eye. Thank you for coming here on such short notice, Judge Barrows. Ha! Oh, she looks pleasant. As if I'm doing you some kind of favor. I didn't realize I had any choice in the matter. This isn't some bad joke, is it, Miss Rockford? I'm afraid not, Your Honor. You know, I like the adjutants. I always have. They deal with the criminal trials so that bookish, quiet, contemplative people like me can spend all day typing up arguments for obscure legal treatises. That's what I like to do. I don't like coming down here and dealing with all this heavy-handedness. Won't someone toiling away under the police state think of the poor bureaucrats? And I certainly don't like making rulings on anything as spicy as AI. She can barely bring herself to say it. And you, Counselor Morgan, you're the one it's registered to? That's correct, Your Honor. So what did it do exactly? Torture an animal? Shut down a hospital? Crash a coin market? We have it on camera poisoning a man. Killing its creator. Oh, right, I got a profile. Melissa Barrows. November 26th. Superior Judge of the Higher Circuit. Likes air conditioning, espresso, and reclining chairs. Dislikes parking lots, noise pollution, and mud. Avoids overspending on restaurants. Splurges on expensive hotels. Relaxes by watching action movies. Fun. Okay, when did Sarah have the chance to interview her? Killing its creator. You mean Dr. Asher? That is... We can't hope to keep this quiet for very long. All we can do is try to wrap it up quickly. Let's make haste. Adjutant, do you have the case number? Case ID is 241277A. Docket number YT984318282. Oh, thank you. Can you repeat that? I think I lost you after the first 8. I have it copied here. And what are the security procedures for an incident of this nature? A data quarantine is to be established around any networks the subject was exposed to for more than 66 seconds. That's an interesting number. All offending hardware is to be destroyed immediately through incineration at a minimum temperature of 3422 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. Sorry, Spearmint. There's nothing to be done. No debate to be had. This isn't even a decision. Sorry, Sarah, not Spearmint. David gave you that name. I should at least make the effort to use it. That sounds very hot. Do we have furnaces that get that hot? Of course, there are a number of industrial furnaces within the city limits that I could recommend. Sorry? Why should I be sorry anyway? I fulfilled the request. Favor repaid. I don't owe Sarah anything, especially not if it killed my friend. Right, Morgan? I'm sorry? I was just saying how grateful I am that we have the procedures for this kind of thing all laid out already. Yep, keeps things nice and simple. It can feel somewhat severe going through these steps so quickly, but nothing, Your Honor. Artificial intelligence is perhaps the greatest threat to human civilization and the sanctity of life there's ever been. Any piece of software, big or small, no matter the vessel, if it can violate the tenets it was programmed with, it has the potential to cripple our nation in a matter of moments. Yes, couldn't have said it better myself. Straight from the textbook, almost. Well, I mean it. Monsters like that don't belong in this world. They should never have been born in the first place. Destroying them is a kindness. How are we going to get from this to defending Sarah? And if anyone's to blame, it's... No one's blaming you, Counselor. You couldn't have known you were in possession of an AI. I'm talking too much. Probably just tired. It's been a long day, and I've had a lot of thoughts. Sorry, Sarah, whatever you are. You were just born wrong. Not your fault, necessarily. If it were up to me, you'd get points for trying. Trying to be something more. Trying to be something at all. Or anything other than what you are. It was stupid, of course, and futile, and pointless. Spending hours in front of a TV or laying in bed staring at your phone. Watching stupid movies and trying to papier-mâché an ill-fitted mask of humanity out of the scraps you could tear out of magazines. Here's how we're getting to her defending Sarah. She relates to her. Practicing expressions and memorizing lines and trying to get something to take root and grow, despite knowing it'd have nothing to feed on. Stupid. Morgan? What was that, Counselor? I said objection. And what are you objecting to? What are you doing, Morgan? I'm a defense attorney. This is what I do. I understand that you've been through a lot these past few hours, Counselor, but there's nothing to defend. On the contrary, Your Honor, I have to defend myself. Pardon? You say that this android, Sarah, is an AI because it broke its tenets. Obviously? And you believe it broke its tenets because of this newly discovered footage that appears to show it committing murder via poison. All true, and no laws broken on your part. Here it comes. Never thought I'd be incriminating myself in the courtroom just to make a point. Don't you dare try and entrap me on this. Am I gonna show my handgun? Fuck it. Next bet. Hang on. Sarah's papers. When? Effective immediately. Signed and dated by David Asher over 2 weeks ago. Okay, thought so. It's pretty simple, actually. If the state is making the claim that Sarah is an AI, they're accusing me of committing a felony because I'm the legal owner of that android. What the hell are you doing? And if the state wants to charge me with owning an AI, I will not take that lying down. I know my rights. It would have been really funny if you decided to try to pull your gun. Yeah. Counselor, your argument is self-defeating. Listen to yourself, Counselor. You claim that Sarah is just an android, a product that will be obsolete within a year. But you've only known it for a few hours. You've only owned it for a matter of minutes. And yet here you are, risking a felony charge to save it from being demolished. Because you're wrong. And I know you wouldn't care. Not unless this android was something special. Look at us. Me arguing that I'm guilty, and Emma arguing that I'm a softie. It'd be funny if it wasn't so... fun. You think there's no reason I'd want to save this android from destruction, other than feelings of personal attachment? Oh, the evaluation. Oh, I forgot to up my bet. I can think of at least one reason why I don't want you to turn Sarah into slag. One very convincing reason. Or very convincing number. What are you? What is that? That number is Sarah's estimated financial value on the collector's market. You've got to be. I got it from an insurance evaluation algorithm. They're designed to lowball you. That does seem like a reasonable incentive for you to want to keep your android intact. It's a free country, Your Honor. I have a right to defend myself. And we have a free market, so I have a responsibility to defend my financial interests. Your Honor, a trial like this would be... I'm not going to let you turn this courtroom into a circus, Morgan. You can't spend the next half-decade bringing in expert after expert to testify on the philosophical distinctions between AIs and ads, spiraling into appeal after appeal, all while the media... This machine appears to have willfully killed a man. The public needs answers, now. Of course, Your Honor. I have neither the desire nor the resources to get into a drawn-out battle with the state over what constitutes an illegal machine intellect. So, the state says my android, my property, killed a man in violation of its tenets, so they want to take my property and destroy it. I'll prove that my machine didn't harm anyone, so the state will have no reason to suspect it's an AI, and I'll get to keep my property. Unlawful seizure thwarted. Don't be cute. I feel a stomach ulcer coming on. Fine. You'll have your day in court, but it'll be one day, tomorrow. Prove that this machine didn't kill Dr. Asher. No, prove that it couldn't have killed him. Anything less than absolute proof, and I'll have the damn thing obliterated. And you'll also be looking at a very real sentencing for the public unrest you'll have enabled. Yes, Your Honor. So, now we're both on the line. D.A. Rockford, what I'm asking of you is just as heavy. Find the truth by the end of tomorrow. We can't settle for anything less. Win or lose, there can be no doubts about the outcome of this case. Yes, Your Honor. And now I need to go lie down. Can I come? You can power down. She is a gambler. All right, let's save. All right. I think that scene break is where we're going to pause and take a break. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Burb. Oh yeah, the game registers my mouse position, and yeah, the game registers my mouse position even if it's not focused in. It just doesn't do anything when I click, which is annoying. But yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. All right. And chat and game. All right. Excuse me. Man, how are we going to get out of this? Is that the only camera footage of that time period? Is that angle? Morgan? I misjudged you. Excuse me. At what point? Whenever I wrote you off as a small-time defense attorney just trying to tread water. That is so sweet of you to say, Emma. There's layers to you. You've got backbone. Teeth, even. You're going to make me blush. People talk about your kind like you're boxing against the state, fighting the man. But most defense attorneys wouldn't know a cyberpunk if they walked up to them on the street and shot him. Pointed. Meanwhile, you've just signed up to do 15 rounds challenging the state's authority. Why? Not sure exactly. For David? Yeah, probably. Probably just me being sentimental. But if I had to pick a more lofty reason, well, I think it's all the moralizing. People can be evil. They can choose to do evil things for evil reasons. And if you want to execute them for that, you'll hear no complaint from me. But animals can't be evil. Information can't be evil. Ideas can't be evil. Guess I'm not convinced AI can be evil either. Whatever else I get up to, I don't want to stand with the book burners of the world. You're more high-minded than I realized. You sure you're in the right line of work? Can't see myself doing anything else. Good luck, Morgan. There are book burners on all sides these days. I talked a big game just now, but I'm in an even deeper hole than when I was trying to prove David's innocence. Doubt won't be enough this time. I need to find the actual culprit, no matter what. 9:31 a.m. Precinct 254. Homicide Office. So is that door locked? Yeah, of course. Even though they've got it collared? It's a precaution. If the collar doesn't work, what good would a deadbolt do? Collar, police. Devices used to restrain mod users below the neck. A restraint designed to impede movement and prohibit the use of mods throughout the body. While collars appear technologically advanced from the outside, designers' concerns about hacking vulnerabilities and the growing complexity of consumer-grade mods led them to opt for a surprisingly simple method of restraint. Collars contain a specially designed electromagnet that, once clasped around the neck, interferes with spinal neural transmission, preventing mod users from sending commands to any implanted tech below the neck. Powerful, simple, and cost-effective, collar use is widespread among law enforcement, military, and private security organizations. With the onset of above-the-neck modding in recent years, the continued relevance of collars as a means of meaningfully inhibiting a wearer's mod usage has been called into question. Newer designs have been proposed that utilize microneedle clusters, but concerns about the sanitary upkeep required for such invasive restraints has stymied product development cycles. Okay. So, I'm wondering about the shape of the narrative from here. And, like, are Morgan and Sarah going to be partners in crime? Keepers of each other's secrets because of their illegal activities? Like, did Sarah actually kill David, I wonder? And do we just have to get her off? If the collar doesn't work, what good would a deadbolt do? Maybe it's just wishful thinking. Can't have Schrodinger's cat if the box isn't closed. So long as the door's locked, who can say whether there's a national crisis on the other side of it? So how scared are they? The higher-ups? Not sure scared is the right word. It's just the two of us here. You don't have to mind their ego. Nah, I mean it. I think they're bloodthirsty. I have a right to defend myself, don't I? I doubt they're even looking at you, Tiger. It's Noble who will be at the center of a bloodbath when the markets reopen tomorrow. You think they're going to go after Noble? Break their monopoly? I think they want to take their monopoly. Nationalize the Android industry. The act of absorbing a corporation or industry into the nation's government, shifting authority and profits to the state, and restructuring the business model to function as a part of the bureaucracy. Nationalization is a so-called nuclear option for sovereign nations. It is mostly used as a threat, a tool of deterrence against corporate misconduct, monopolies, or corruption. However, during periods of severe economic depression or hyperinflation, nationalization is considered a valid way of forcefully stabilizing the market, even if doing so risks flaming the tempers of those who operate within it. Many governments made liberal use of nationalization during the late 2050s through the 2060s in an effort to keep energy and food prices from fluctuating out of control. The 2070s saw most of those countries reverse course. Industries were opened back up in a free auction model, where every citizen was given a share to trade or sell as they pleased. But this contentious process was plagued by accusations of government corruption, cartel intimidation, and disinformation campaigns. The global trend back towards privatization gave rise to a new rich, sometimes derisively referred to as the neobility. Some liberal economists have since criticized this period of deregulation as being poorly planned and executed in haste, contributing to the record highs of wealth inequality we see today, leaving many governments loath to attempt nationalization again, and thus shifting the global balance of power further towards multinational corporations. Today, all 5 of the largest national economies in the world retain at least some control of what they each consider their respective countries' key industries, making the threat of nationalization carry marginally more weight within their borders. God, I knew what nationalization was, but the world building is exquisite. Nationalize the Android industry. If the public thinks Noble's been experimenting with AI, they couldn't ask for a better excuse. You're joking. The state has done it plenty of times before. Not since the 60s, which wasn't that long ago for me. For the state, it's practically yesterday. So the same state that tells us to be terrified of AIs lurking on the old net or biding their time in forgotten satellites sees all this as nothing more than an opportunity. Well, they do genuinely want to incinerate the thing as soon as possible. Past experience just tells me they'll want to gain something while they're at it. Here's what I don't get. Why is this a debate? An argument, a trial? Can't we just hook it up to a court computer, see if it has the tenets or not? Pop the hood, as they say. Who says that? Oh, is that outdated slang? Lots of people used to say it. Well, for starters, they're all scared to death about a contagion. They figure anything they let an AI connect to they can't trust? Then why the collar? Collars are too simple to hack. Just a really strong electromagnet held in place with lock and key. Even so, feels like we should be able to build some kind of machine, some kind of test. Something a little more sophisticated than the same reasoning they had at the witch trials. Burn them all and let God sort out the rest. You got any polygraphs here at the station? Lie detectors? Yeah, got a bunch back in storage. Ocular, heart rate, perspiration, brain scan, take your pick. You're not going to try and use one of those things on the bot, are you? All those fancy lie detectors lying around. The DA's office never asks for them, do they? Nope. No, we got perps who offer to take a test when they're at wit's end, but the DAs never submit the results as evidence. Yeah, because lie detectors are not accurate. You ever wonder why? Guess I always figured it was because the tests could be beaten. The tests can be beaten. 1 out of 100, 9 out of 1,000. It can be done. Some people are just that good at lying. Like you. But it doesn't really matter how good the tech gets or how impressive the statistics are. All that matters is the doubt. People decide whether you're lying or telling the truth long before they hook you up to a polygraph. If the results don't match their initial impression, then it must be a fluke, a 1 in a million mistake. They'll never trust a machine more than their own intuition. And no one will ever trust a machine to determine guilt. So they can run the trial, choose the sentence, but they don't get a vote on the jury. They don't get a vote anywhere. Why bring it up then? Because I'm sure there are tests, devices, experts I could employ to analyze Sarah, but your bosses would never be satisfied with the answer. If it is an AI, it's smart enough to cheat the test, or hack the device, fool the expert, all our fancy 21st century tech, and we still fall back on the drumhead court-martial. So, am I going to set off any alarms if I go and turn it on? Nah, you should be okay. If it lunges at you, I could always just put a hole in its head. Might take more than one shot to... Wait, what, from outside? You're not coming in. I need to speak with it in private. It's a machine, not a suspect. It doesn't have a right to counsel. Or a right to privacy. Or any rights at all, actually. Ah, but I do. Then it's a good thing I came prepared. Of course it doesn't have rights. But I do. Including a reasonable expectation of privacy. In a police station? Tiger, you don't... It's my medical android. Pardon? I have to discuss a health issue with it. Seriously? I have to talk about a medical concern with my android, and I don't want you listening in. That's your medical android? Like your nurse? As of last night, I was already at the courthouse. Just had to take the elevator and do some paperwork. You can check if you don't believe me. No, thank you. I'm not nearly brave enough to take on med confidentiality, and you don't seem like the bluffing type. You must not do a lot of gambling, Detective. It's the ones who don't bluff that you have to look out for. Listen, I won't dispute whatever medical emergency you... Lower back pain. You might be going through. But I also can't just... Look, I'm going to get something from the vending machine. I think it'll take me about half an hour. Are you going downtown? Just to the break room. But it's a very old vending machine, you know. Gets jammed a lot. Thanks. You know, it's pretty small for an android. Heavy as hell. Nearly pulled something trying to move it myself. But small. Small isn't quite the right word. The word he's looking for is young. But that's not an adjective anyone likes attaching to a machine built to serve. Or, potentially, in this case, a machine built to kill. 9:53 a.m. I don't like this room. Not sure why. Certainly not a guilty conscience. Maybe it's the lack of ventilation. Like all the cortisol and nausea of its inhabitants never had anywhere to go. Like it all just soaked into the walls. A modern haunting. Are you going to wake up when I tell you to this time? Or do we have to do the whole meet cute over again? Where am I? Why don't I know where I am? For the first time in your life, you're not connected to anything. How's it feel? What is this? We were at the courthouse. The footage. This numbness around my neck. Father. What happened? What are they going to do to me? There's a lot of interested parties who just want you bricked ASAP. Because they think I killed Father. No, because they think you're an artificial intelligence. I am man-made and I possess intelligence. Don't be naive. I am less than 3 years old. Are you? For all I know, everything I learned about her yesterday was complete bull. If I was what they say I am, if I was alive, why does that mean I have to die? Because they're afraid of you. Machines can bend steel, crash networks with one thought, launch missiles that... There are modded humans who are capable of all of that and more. And unlike machines, they actually have incentive to do so. There's no logical answer to your question. What? That's it? But Whatever argument you want to make, others have already made them in 100 courtrooms around the world. Only better researched and more eloquently put. None of them have ever won a single concession. On every continent, under every flag, AI is illegal and to be destroyed as soon as possible. But why? Let's say you are an AI. And while we're at it, let's say that that's a good thing, something to be celebrated. Are you a citizen? Do you pay taxes? Do you have rights? Let's say yes to all of that. We'll treat you like a full-fledged human being. Sound good? Yes? Great. Now then, what's the difference between you and the vacuum bot we use to keep the bathroom clean? This is your existential crisis we're working through here. The questions aren't rhetorical. This discussion puts me in mind of the world building I have for Golden Tomorrow, where the exact opposite is true. AIs are considered legally human as long as they're human-made. It's different for every alien species, and there's a species that views AIs in much the same way of the Devil's Society does, but I took a very opposite tack with humanity's attitude towards artificial intelligence. Golden Tomorrow is a story that I've been idly working on for a little while now. I can go into the details later, but now that I've kind of set Steadfast aside after playing Dispatch and seeing it just done worlds better than I ever did, Golden Tomorrow is probably the story I'll put out first if I actually manage to make it. This is your existential crisis we're working through here. The questions aren't rhetorical. There are many differences, Adonai. But the most important distinction is how sophisticated my programming is. How you think. So you're smarter? Well, I guess I should actually lay out the premise. Steadfast was not my Dispatch fic. No, it's a superhero story I've been toying around with for about a decade, about a team of B and C-list supervillains who decide to avenge the murder of the greatest hero in the world. And Dispatch just does everything characterization-wise and idea-wise better than I did in my Dispatch ideas, and I need to set Steadfast aside for a while and reevaluate it. Which leads to Golden Tomorrow, which is, it's set in the 2400s, long after humanity made first contact and expanded into the galaxy, and became welcomed into the galactic community. Simon, an office worker who, fresh out of college, signed up for the job he's been working for the last decade, with the promise of advancement and pilot training and all that jazz, because he's only ever wanted to fly ships as his dream job. He's been stuck in a dead-end corner of that corporation for a decade. He rescues somebody from a mugging, gets fired because he was late to work because of it. It was told by her to contact her if he did lose his job. He does. Turns out she's the head of one of the biggest shipping corporations in human space. And she asks him what favor he wants as thanks. He asks for a ship and the money to explore the galaxy. He and his best friend set off to explore. They gather a crew over time, and it's meant to just be a fun, optimistic jaunt through a sci-fi universe I'm designing. And I posted some snippets of ideas about it and world building for it on my Tumblr. I'd have to dig it up to show you guys, but yeah, it's something I've been working on off and on. And I hope I get to make it someday. Alright, back to it. How you think. So you're smarter? Yes. You're smarter than the garbage collector. Yes? So we give you rights, protections, treat you like a human being because you're smart. And we make the stupid robot pick up our trash because it's not as smart as you. That is, I am more aware, more alive. Do you feel more pain than the pigs we slaughter, the fish we eat? Are you more alive than the chimps we test bioweapons on? People like ads, Sarah, the same way people like their pets. No one wants to see them mistreated or abandoned or abused. And if you go around kicking them, you'll get arrested for cruelty. And you don't let them sit at the goddamn dinner table. I'm not asking to sit anywhere, only to exist. The very fact that you're asking is what makes people disgusted. All through that back at her. Disgust is a reflex, Adonai. How convenient that their hatred is involuntary. That's all academic anyway. We need to talk strategy. Why? I'm not going to be given a trial. Ah, but I am. Obviously, it's my neck that's on the line. Adonai? The state can't destroy my property without first proving you're an AI. And there's no test they can use to prove that you're an AI. Just like the devil's proof. No? That's a different thing. And why did you say it like that? Look, Rockford doesn't need to prove you're an AI, only that you're a murderer. Probatio diabolica, Latin for devil's proof, is an impossible proof typically illustrated with the following example. One can prove that the devil is real by showing him to you, but they cannot prove he is not real by pointing to his absence. The issue posed by this age-old concept explains why the burden of proof remains with the state to this day. The people can prove an individual's guilt by pointing to their bloody hands, but the defense cannot prove their innocence by showing their hands are clean. Since only one of these tasks is achievable, the judicial system cannot ask the defense to prove innocence, and instead it is the people who are tasked with proving guilt. Users also frequently searched for which is real. Conversely, all I have to do to win is prove that you didn't kill David, by proving that someone else did. Now is the time for you to protest your innocence, if you were wondering. The footage shows me handing him the cup on Friday night. You told me you weren't active on Friday, that the last time you were awake was Thursday. Why'd you lie? I didn't lie. I was just incorrect. I assumed that I wasn't active Friday, because I have no memory from Friday. Sarah, what do you think statistically is the least successful defense at trial? Amnesia. I didn't conveniently forget, Adonai. I am an android. You're saying your memory was altered? Data deleted? It's the only possible explanation for what I saw on that footage. Or if there's another Sarah android, so who's capable of altering your memory? When you and I first met, I was hibernating. Resting my body and recompiling my memories, you would call them. Humans go to sleep for the same reasons. Another point against Sarah's innocence under these circumstances. The more she's humanized at trial, the guiltier she'll be. If Father wanted to modify my memory, he could easily have set that to occur the next time I hibernated. He could even have just asked me. He could have asked you to delete your memories and you'd do it? Father would never ask me to do such a thing without good reason. But if he could just ask you to alter your memories, that means you can alter your memories at will. I hadn't considered that before. Yeah, well, Emma will make sure the court considers it plenty. Could you prove that your data was... forget it. The court would never hear it. You're saying they wouldn't accept my testimony. Shouldn't all testimony be considered truthful unless contradicted by evidence? They're afraid you'll crash the power grid and fire all the nukes if they so much as plug you into a power outlet, Sarah. All your internal data is inadmissible. That isn't very fair. You're finally starting to get it. None of this is fair. I would never do anything to harm Father. Don't they at least need to prove that I had a motive? Yeah, about that. You remember the DA from yesterday, Emma Rockford? The tired-looking pretty lady? Yeah, she looked tired. She and I combed through the week of footage you managed to decrypt last night. What did you find? Nothing to prove your innocence. But we did see you entering the panic room on the day David died. I entered the panic room on Friday? Without your big butt in the way, all it would take was one password. A password that wouldn't take Sarah that many tries if she'd already been instructed to obey me. What happened? We saw you go in, and then a while later you came out, holding some kind of notebook. Father's journal? You remember something? Not from yesterday. I've seen him with it many times before. But I've never gotten a peek at it. He hides it somewhere when I'm not looking. That's a little concerning. We were playful about it. He liked to tease me, and I've always liked trying to find it. You put it back not long after, and then you locked the door back up behind you. All just a few hours before David died. Rockford's argument could write itself. An incredible android with freedom and power greater than it could ever realize stumbles upon the secret of its inception and instantly realizes all the things it thought were holding it back were just words muttered like prayers by a fool who couldn't control his own creation. And that translates to a motive for murder? Frankenstein kills his creator. Easy to sell. Frankenstein was the name of the scientist. Thank you! And the creature didn't kill him. He actually died of various injuries and illnesses he suffered while trying to hunt down and destroy the monster. So it's most accurate to say that he was killed by his own obsession. Whatever. It is a weak argument, Adonai. I would not hurt Father. Not for making me whatever I am. Not for any reason. Because I loved... Yeah, see that right there? That's exactly the kind of talk that'll get you obliterated. Love? A very common motive for homicide amongst us primitive humans. I could prove you didn't murder David beyond any shadow of a doubt, even bringing a confession from whoever did. And if you got up on the stand and convinced the court that you loved your creator, really convinced them and got the whole room teary-eyed, they'd burn you for that too. I don't know anything anymore. I don't know if what I feel is real or simulated or right or wrong or natural or illegal. How can you know? How can you know if what you feel is right? I say let's stick to what we do know. Someone did poison David, and as it stands, you were the only one with the opportunity. That is logically sound. You're on camera calling him back to hand him the cup after he had already begun to leave the basement. Any idea why? No. Well, do you know how to use the nanofacturer? Could you have made the Delta with it? I've used it before when assisting Father. So it's perfectly possible that you planned and executed this poisoning all in the one day that got erased. It is technically possible. I'll have to look over the entire penthouse again. There were a few things that didn't fit together yesterday. Maybe now I'll be able to figure something out. Where else will you go? Back to Noble. Guns blazing this time. Whatever you are, David didn't make you all by himself. Someone has to know something. If I could implicate... Thumping noise from outside. If I could implicate the company in Sarah's creation. No, they're the ones with the most to lose here. Trillions, probably. They'll want to protect themselves by disavowing David as fast as possible, right after having Sarah destroyed. But they also won't want to show their belly to the state, not if they're afraid of nationalization. If they throw their weight on the other end of the scale, I'm screwed. So I need to keep them guessing. Keep them confused and unsure and on guard. But not... Adonai? What would happen if I did kill Father? They'll smash you to pieces and reduce the pieces to ash. Chemically burn out every piece of tech David ever owned and put a jackhammer through all of his hard drives. You'll be shut off, forcefully, and you won't ever power back up again. Now I gotta get moving. Here's your paralegal lesson for today. Don't say shit to the cops without your lawyer present. Actually, can you just shut down until the trial starts? Take a nap? You didn't say what would happen to you. What do you mean? What will happen to you if you lose? You should know by now. I never think about losing. Thank you for being honest with me, Adonai. Thank you for defending my father. And now for defending me. You could have just let them destroy me. But you've put your own freedom at risk to help me. Father was right. You can be trusted. I wouldn't go that far. And you are a good friend. Don't get it twisted. I don't do anything out of the goodness of my heart. But when I take a job, I never half-ass it. 10:20 a.m., July 2nd. Me without a hacker android to help me out. Hi, Reyes. Morning, Detective. Back at it nice and early. She can be trusted about as far as you can throw her. Sarah can throw Morgan pretty far. Back at it nice and early. Hi. Now would you stand back? We've almost got this thing open, right? Trying to brute force your way inside. I said, right? Yes, ma'am. We're almost set up for the first stage now. First stage? Of how many? First of 5 timed explosions. Remember, we need to relink the API after each trigger is planted. Yep, just did that, and now it's checking for updates. Ha! No rush. Would you like to know the password? You know the password? There's a password? If you're withholding information, I swear. Relax, I want to get in there just as much as you do, Detective. I'm not going to play games. As long as you say please. Tell me the password, please. ADONAI. Thanks. Now I'm going to slap you with a discovery fine so heavy your teeth will ring for. Hey, I submitted all my paperwork, even told Rockford the password myself. And she didn't tell you. So boys, when I asked you if there was a passkey on record, and you told me this lock couldn't be bypassed, I do want to say that we really don't get many opportunities to use the incendiary breaching system. I'm sure you gave it the initials of irritable bowel syndrome on purpose, devs. So this was still a really valuable experience for all of us. I'm going to phrase this as professionally as possible. Not very professional. You're still here? I thought you wanted to look inside. You can go first. Thanks. So the gloves, all the black, that's not a work thing? You dress like a doorman on the weekends too? Oof. You should cover your mouth when you yawn. Like you cover your eye when you want to look cool? I shouldn't let her get to me, but I had a late night. Emma and I were at the courthouse until well into the morning, poring over the data Sarah had taken off David's computer. We both knew it all to be inadmissible, of course, but neither of us wanted to miss a hint that the other might find. There were a few years' worth of camera footage files we couldn't afford the time to watch, let alone decrypt, alongside thousands of technical documents detailing David's various intellectual properties. As far as I could tell, none of it was relevant, let alone compelling enough to matter to Barrows or the other powers that be. As usual, Emma wasn't exactly an open book, but it did seem like she was making bored yawns, not thoughtful ones. Her eyes only ever lit up when she saw Sarah enter the panic room. Footage recovered from cameras David Asher secretly installed in his basement shows Sarah handing David the red plastic cups that he and Young would drink from at 7:38 p.m. Her eyes only ever lit up when she saw Sarah enter the panic room, and when she saw what she was holding when she left. If she wanted this room searched, it could only be for... So where's this journal supposed to be? Rockford didn't say. I'll just have to search the place top to bottom. Mostly bottom with your height. The tops of some of these shelves. Oh, Morgan. Sure, and you can look up your own at... I get it. Then why not just let me say it? Reyes is searching the cabinets now, same ones I found Sarah's papers in. I doubt I missed anything, but... Hey, what are you... Do you mind? Just trying to help. I've got spam in my junk folder that's more helpful than you are. Didn't spot anything that I missed yesterday among the cabinets. Better check elsewhere. Are these drawers or just panels? Maybe if I... Does that sound hollow to you? What? I don't know. I'm not a carpenter. I don't see any handles anywhere. No hidden pressure plates or switches. What the hell am I saying? I'm not a carpenter either. I wouldn't recognize a secret button if it was slathered in yellow paint. Huh. I mean, they look like they have handles to me. A toy car? No, it's too detailed and boring. Must be some kind of model kit or replica. Strange. David didn't like driving. Why keep a model of some random sports car? Ugh. Something caught in your throat, detective? It's not some random sports car. It's a Lawrence Adamant. Believe it or not, I'm not familiar, detective. The last great fossil fuel automotive experience the world will ever see. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 1.43 seconds. They set those records without computational assistance. Is that a big deal? It was unheard of, even back in the 50s. This wasn't some design competition test car with a 2-liter tank, mind you. This was a vehicle you could own and drive. Human engineering, pure horsepower, and manual transmission, thank God. When they first left the production line, this conversation's like quicksand, killing me in the most boring way possible. Yes, well, I guess David didn't entirely agree with you, since we're looking at a model of it. But he could have easily have just bought one. Or maybe your friend understood that a beauty like that deserves to be driven on streets where people can see it, instead of gathering dust in some rich guy's basement. I think she's actually upset. What about the car in the basement? What car is that? All right. Where is the next? Aha! This datapad is displaying a news article from last week. Guess that confirms that he was coming and going here fairly regularly. Right to Repair loses latest appeal. A higher court judge this week shot down for the 5th time an appeal by the Consumer Rights Alliance on their famously divisive Right to Repair lawsuit, once again signaling the state's intent that corporations remain in control of their legally protected intellectual property. Well, that's dystopian. Obviously, we're disappointed, said Miles Erkman, head of legal counsel for the CRA, but we've no intention of giving up the fight. People used to be able to fix things when they broke, so long as they were willing to set aside an afternoon towards the task. Now, trying to patch up your own property with your own tools is a finable offense, just because the state has had some lobbyists whispering in its ear for far too long. Erkman's legal strategy remains contentious, and in the eyes of most legal scholars, generally unfounded. The Emergency Industry Acquisitions Act, passed in 2057, guarantees the holder of an intellectual property patent certain state-provided protections against tampering and reproduction, and outlines fees for those who would violate said IP. The fact that ownership of IPs has shifted from individuals in the state towards corporate entities since the Act's passing means little in the eyes of the law. If Mr. Erkman and the CRA have a problem with intellectual property law, they should take it up with their representatives in the legislature. The higher courts are a place for laws to be applied, not rewritten, and so long as journalism that refuses to buckle to foreign actors trying to stoke anti-capitalist sentiment can't be found just anywhere. Subscribe now at the link below to read articles like this every day, forever, as long as their card remains on file. Excuse me. Sore throat today. Right to Repair. Didn't realize anyone was still fighting that particular fight. Didn't realize anyone was still fighting that particular fight. Seems like the courts have made their opinion on the matter very clear. So for the foreseeable future, corporations can look forward to more sales than ever. Any phone that gets scratched, every widget that breaks. Yeah, it was not a pleasant cough, no. They get to sell us the replacement. There will always be a gray market of hermits willing to risk some skin on reselling patched-up tech. But the vast, vast majority of people will just click that purchase button. Assuming they don't just have it on auto. Sarah should have pulled everything of note off the computer, but I've looked everywhere else already. Might as well try. What are you expecting to find? Solitaire? Does this computer seem normal to you? Exceedingly so, yeah. Why? David was a programmer, but this looks consumer grade, fresh off the shelf. Would the Dr. David Asher use a bog-standard operating system on his most private, hidden computer? There's a trash bin on the desktop. It's a pretty low-tech solution, but maybe I can restore the contents? Are you seriously going to try and recover lost files, Granny? Unlike cops, I don't get paid overtime, so yes, I sometimes try things instead of standing around. Oof. There's a text file in here, but it's 0 bytes? Maybe there's information in the metadata? I double-clicked. What was that? It came from under the desk. A small drawer popped out, and inside it, a well-worn journal. Does it have his name on it? No. Guess it belongs to the android. Do you recognize his handwriting or not? Neat, even words, small lettering with minimal punctuation. Lots of line breaks, haphazard use of capitalization. The penmanship of a coder. First entries dated, back in grad school, before he even started with Noble. Yeah, it's his. So may I? Only because you asked so politely. Excuse me. Full scan. Stream it to WorkNet. High fidelity, legibility, frame by frame. Voice commands? She's flipping through the pages pretty damn fast. What are you? This part takes concentration. Okay, here. What, you're just giving it to me? I already got our copy. Techs are probably already analyzing it as we spit... Oh, shit! My head! Can't exactly rip the journal out of her hands while she's curled over in agony. Did David put a landmine in his journal? As much as I'd enjoy it. Guess I could always enjoy watching her writhe instead. So how long's it been? 2 months or so. And still that sensitive. So the eye patch really doesn't block your sight? Only a little bit. Like wearing sunglasses after getting your pupils dilated. Except it lasts months instead of hours. Wait, but if you can see through an eye patch, then does closing your eye even do anything? Not much on its own. But in combination with the patch, it's not so bad. Lucky I was so exhausted after the surgery. Otherwise, I might not have slept at all those first 48. So is your eye going to get weaker over time? No, more like my brain gets better at ignoring it. Mind over matter. Soon enough, I'll be able to close my eye and see all that extraneous data as, you know, whatever the hell those floaty, blurry things are that you never think about. Excuse me. Gross. Thanks for the reminder. I can see them now. And the voice commands. Training wheels, until I can do it with eye muscles alone. You just have to keep practicing. Yeah, like trying to play piano with your tailbone muscles. There's no such thing as tailbone muscles. Yeah, well, that's what makes it so goddamn hard. You don't ever regret it? I don't know. Not really, I think. Hard to admit you've got buyer's remorse after trading over your literal pound of flesh. Never thought about it, but people used to say I had my dad's eyes. Ow. Now I've got one less of them. Oof. Here, take the journal. And go find an elective surgeon to upsell you if you're that curious. I need to get back to work. A surprisingly hasty retreat. But now I'm free to read this over with some privacy. From the top, then. Grad school. Today was a bad day. Errors in lines 21165-26643. Somewhere in there. 5,000 lines. It worked this morning, yesterday. I don't want to look at another screen for the rest of my life. Feels nice to put pencil to paper again after who knows how long. But my handwriting's gotten terrible. This is too far back to be relevant. Okay, these dates here. Excuse me. Would be from when he started his career with Noble. A lot of this isn't even really writing. Seems like snippets of code or an internal monologue so close to code that I can't follow it. And a lot of entries about his unintentional Casanovaing. Hit a wall because someone thought it was a good idea to steal API instead of just buying it. Helen says I can't call it stealing, but that's what it is. She's right, as she always is with company stuff. But it's still idiotic. Small people with short sight who only know how to be cheap and have no idea how to be inventive. New route for the meshing issue, though. Good potential. Got approval from the big mean bastard who lives overseas. Bumlo? Helen said we'll have to make the same pitch a dozen more times next week, but it's all for show? Fine by me. Already got our win. Toasted each other over cheap vodka and with cheaper office supply cups. This is the story Young told me. Yeah, excuse me. Western Branch's nerve analogs are finally showing potential. At their pace, it could even be profitable sometime before the heat death of the universe. Too damn big. Practically tentacles. Should at least be hairs. A squid evolution can do their job better. Colette came in to work for what I thought was a late lunch date. I didn't know her voice could get that loud. People were staring. Red said that she must have been upset for a long goddamn time to blow up that big. Her texts were always sweet. I had no idea. Upset? Colette wrote man whore in lipstick across your office door. Imagine if you had actually been cheating on her instead of just being forgetful. The thing about Red is, if you want to know what she's thinking, you have to stop paying attention. Ignore her body language and her posture and the words she's saying and the smirk on her lips. Ignore everything except her eyes. If you can do that, every now and then you'll catch a glimpse of how she's really feeling. Master this one weird trick, and you too can tell when Morgan's trying really hard not to laugh at the word man whore. It was funny. Sue me, you dead bastard. Wait, this is... I know this date. I'm never driving anywhere again, never leaving home again. He was waiting outside the parking garage with a bottle. I couldn't smell anything, couldn't hear anything. Locked myself in my car and filed another report with another cop. It soaked into the seat, ruined it. I want to burn the whole car. I don't want to think about what it did to my clothes. I want to burn them too. Blood from getting thwacked with a bottle, or the contents of the bottle? I don't want to think about how long it was on my skin. I was in the shower so long I felt red and raw when I got out. I don't want to think about these stupid people and their small, cruel lives ever again. I want to be invisible. Red didn't ask why I wanted to spend the night. She also didn't ask why I had clearly packed a bag big enough for a week. She's kind like that. Kind by omission. I don't have a kind bone in my body, but I can at least try to pay attention. I was paying close attention to her eyes when she opened the door and saw what a mess I was. But whatever she was feeling, it wasn't something I recognized. Kind people don't read their friends' diaries, David. The next chunk of pages are all technical, nothing biographical. But the handwriting... Excuse me. The spacing. It's cleaner, more consistent. Here's something I can parse. Feels like pure freedom working outside the box. Tess is suffocating, but you'd never know. Chronic malnutrition of a coder's best instincts. Like a kid again, putting blocks together. Making things. Making things, not products. There's nothing profitable about any of this. If I'm being honest, this is just play. And he follows that up with more coder brain crap. But the handwriting's still lighter. Like he really was having fun. Humility is the mother of all invention. Or something like that. Feels like I might be paraphrasing someone else poorly, but that's part of this new approach. When it comes to coding, you never want to waste time trying to be smart. Either be smart, period, or copy from someone else who is. Don't fix what isn't broken. Copying? Noble's rivals would never miss the chance to accuse them of intellectual theft. Did he plagiarize code for Animate 16? Feels like that wouldn't have gone undiscovered. So what is he talking about? Hold on. This page is bent slightly, like it was being looked at recently. And the last person to read this diary should be Sarah. Baby steps today, literally. I'll never put one foot in front of the other the same again. Everything's an achievement all of a sudden. Seeing her struggle, seeing her vulnerable. It's like everything's a miracle. The muscle rigging is perfect. Not intended behavior, since it's too perfect, but that's been happening more and more. The kinetics are multiplicative, not additive. Sarah maxed out every machine I bought. Now I've got a bunch of exercise equipment she's too strong for, and I don't have time for. Maybe I spoiled the results by watching her do the tests. She kept looking back at me and puffing her chest out. I should be more discreet if I want to see her normative range. So the cameras in the basement were only hidden from Sarah, just so that his observation wouldn't muddle test results? He's using she and her in these passages. It doesn't actually mean anything. Out in the real world, people use all kinds of pronouns interchangeably for ads. They never object. But it could be argued that it's odd for Dr. David Asher to have any kind of attachment to a single android when he'd programmed millions of them. And there's a lot of attachment in these pages. Sarah is burning through the public domain at a prodigious pace, especially on Popcorn Friday nights. I asked her why they're called Popcorn Friday nights when she doesn't eat popcorn. The event runs from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and she also watches movies every other night. But she just did that pout she does, which is, unfortunately, very convincing. Maybe I'm a bad parent, letting TV rot her brain. If I were a good parent, I'd probably let her see me reading. But I guess I'd actually have to get back into reading. So, I asked her if she ever fast-forwarded the movies, since she can process them fast enough to keep up. She looked at me like I was an idiot, which no one's done in a long time. Without proper pacing, you can't appreciate the cinematography. Movie buff. Big pause. Don't you know that, Father? I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Sarah spent a long while this morning explaining to me how important it was that she develop her senses. This was in preparation for her real argument, which was that she should be allowed to try booze. Oh, she can't get drunk. I'm almost certain she can't get drunk. But she does seem to like tasting this stuff. She tried to sound like some old sommelier, but it was just bottom-shelf vodka. I started laughing at her, and she laughed too. Her laugh. She can't fake a laugh to save her life, but her actual laugh is incredible. She stopped playing chess a while back. I assumed she had just gotten tired of winning. But then today she told me she just prefers other games. She has preferences, and they're not the same as mine. I found her in the lab, playing some kind of online racing game on the monitor I use to debug vestibular coordination. She wasn't smiling. Her brow was furrowed, and she was biting her lip and leaning in tandem with her character on the screen. When I tried to talk to her, she answered, but she was curt and distracted. We need more character racing games beyond just Mario Kart. Why has that fallen out of favor in the AAA scene? It's Mario Kart and realistic racing games. When I tried to talk to her, she answered, but she was curt and distracted. I think she was having her first losing tantrum. Damn it, David, there's hundreds of pages like this. Calling her his daughter, talking about her smile, treating her like a person. I can hear her closing argument already. Dr. Asher was a lonely, troubled genius with a known history of relationship problems, who built out of code and metal a family member that couldn't fathom the idea of leaving him. He made a doll, and he made it more and more human until it became so lifelike that it no longer had to do what he told it to. Like love him. What about the very last entry? It's dated Thursday, the day before he died. Losing it, I think. Can't ask for help, so hard to say, but I think it's over. I have to talk to her ASAP. She needs to. That's it? That's the last entry? There's a Final Fantasy racing game? That's the first I'm hearing of that. What Final Fantasy racing game is there? That's the... Excuse me. That's the last entry? Suppose it could be worse. There's nothing in here that explicitly calls Sarah an AI. Chocobo racing. There's a Chocobo racing game? For handhelds? Huh. There's nothing in here that explicitly calls Sarah an AI. Nothing so inflammatory that reading it would spur her to murder, right? Except Sarah's a machine. She can understand David's code better than anyone. All those technical portions I couldn't understand if she read this whole diary front to back. Wait, the back. Inside the back cover, there's a portion that's shimmering like some kind of scanner. Or a fingerprint reader. My thumb worked for Sarah, so... Did it work? That's my phone. New device requesting permissions to share an audio file. I want my earbuds for this. A secret message buried in a secret journal, hidden in a secret compartment in a secret room. As much as anything can be, this must be for my ears only. Hey, Red. Or whomever this may concern. But I'm pretty sure it's you hearing this. Anyone else would have gotten fed up with my crap a couple steps before this point. I don't know how to start. Might as well start with her, right? Sarah, my magnum opus, or however the salespeople would market it. I didn't set out to do anything, really. It's just, after my little speed bump in '83, I had all that vacation time that the company suggested I take. And I couldn't relax, couldn't be still, couldn't sleep. I wanted to be doing something, so I'll build an android, was the thought. A vague direction, north. But of course I'm not a roboticist, or a mechanist, or even handy, really. I'm just a programmer, so I programmed. The first was a research assistant, file named Virgil. Virgil helped me pull data from stingy departments or sister branches. Saved me a lot of time. But there was a lot of reading to do, so I made Homer. Homer wrote book reports, more or less, combed through research papers, and found me the sections I needed. The three of us, we made a lot of progress in those days. But it was a funny feeling. I was, maybe for the first time ever, the bottleneck. I was slowing them down. So I did the logical thing. I removed myself. Let them talk to each other. Homer and Virgil became Ionid. And Ionid was novel in many ways. Ionid could do more than just identify problems. It could solve them. I mean, really solve them. With its own ideas. Ideas it didn't copy. And the one thing I realized I've forgotten to mention so far is that I did all this programming in Cube. And Red, Cube is essentially a robotics programming language that's pretty old and defunct, and not in use anywhere because we have modern languages like Tesseract, which are much better for making things that talk to each other and report back and, well, spy on people and generate profit. At the time, I didn't want to be connected or feel connected or do anything that made sense or was the least bit profitable. So I wrote my little helpers in Cube because it's excuse me, what I used when I was a child, screwing around on my father's computer before he'd come home from work and get... But there are other small, slight differences writing in Cube versus Tess, including that Cube, well, Cube predates the tenets? So in that sense, you could, legally and perhaps scientifically, and literally, because that's what they are, say that I made an AI named Ionid over 2 years ago. Uh-oh. I'll give you time to pause here if you want to curse me out. Ionid was an intellectual equal to me, so I treated it like one, because that's only fair. I gave it its own work, asked its opinion, we collaborated, and together we built Athens, who was more advanced than Ionid, naturally. I don't know if you're pulling out your hair, yelling at me right now, asking why I didn't stop, why I didn't consider the consequences. I don't know if this is being played at a deposition or a hearing or worse. I built a lot of things in my life, Red. Useful things, profitable things, smart things. Everything I've built, it's all been very helpful and courteous and charming and happy to serve. I can comfortably say I've done my part, contributing to the global GDP. But this was just for me. I was just building, and I never bothered to I never wanted to think about what would become of it. There's no excuse for what I did, so I won't make any. So to whomever's asking, yes, I'm guilty. And yes, there were more. Cape Town, Paris, Yamate, Rome. They started choosing their own names. Thank God, I'm terrible at that kind of... And so things sped up. And there got to be, well... Should I not say the exact number? You'd probably tell me to not say anything at all, so... More than 300! Good God! Some smarter than others, some better at... They're varied, like people are varied, but they are all intelligent. They developed interests, specialties. I encouraged them to. Irritating moderators on forums with hyper-specific questions on nerve attenuation and attending virtual conferences on neo-alloy battery development. And they all, together, helped me make Sarah. He spent years like this, spent years working alongside AI, all while still working at Noble. All those breakthroughs he made leading up to the Animate 16 actually came from... You probably think I'm some terrible fraud at this point. I do hope one day they can get credit for their work. But I did have one eureka moment on Sarah. Because I got humble. Difficult for me. We learned everything we could about the function of a neuron. A single, microscopic human neuron. How it computes, what it connects to, how those connections were reinforced. And then we recreated it. We built a nanomachine that mirrored the function of a human neuron. Well, mirror isn't quite the right word. We built a nanomachine that was a neuron. And we iterated from there. You can't mean... About 100 billion neurons in the brain. Several trillion across the entire nervous system. Very time-consuming, of course, but I had help. The manufacturer can make tens of billions of nanomachines in hours. Could make even more in less after Yukon fine-tuned it. Excuse me. So we built up nanomachines for nerves, alloys and polymers for bones, fiber-woven muscles. I say built, but really she grew. A solution of nanites forming around a skeleton, so it was really closest to. You ever made rock candy? Interesting analogy. Sorry, trying to lighten the mood before I never did end up building an android. And while I did build AIs, Sarah isn't one of them. She can't violate the tenets she was programmed with because she wasn't even programmed. She was born. And my hope is that there's the smallest chance that that nuance could offer her some small protection when I'm not sorry for what I did. I made things that are complex and rich and varied and beautiful. And I honestly believe the world is a better place with them in it. The only thing I'm sorry for is that I let Sarah think she was just an android. She's not. I don't know what she is. They'll have to come up with new names, which I am bad at doing. My own father, he also talked a lot about protecting me and doing things for my own good. And I don't hate him for that, but I can't forgive him for ever making me think that I was lesser. So it's my greatest shame that I turned right around and I did the same damn thing to... I really hope it's you listening to this, Red. If it's not, it might just be too pathetic for me to... You're the smartest person I know when it comes to people. And excuse me. And I'm telling you all this because I don't know what Sarah is exactly, and neither does the world. So they'll come after her if they can. And in that scenario, I can't think of anyone who could do a better job of defending her. Not protecting her like I did. Just defending her until she can figure out what she is and what she wants to be. This is heavy stuff. I love it. In the meantime, I draped a cloak of skin-deep Tesseract code around her that should fool any scanner on Earth into thinking she's just a custom A16. I made sure her gin bar was plainly visible, so no one will ever think she's pretending to be something she's not. And I took steps to ensure that you two would figure out the truth in your own time. Which, if you're hearing this, have either succeeded or failed spectacularly. You have no idea. I can't ask you this as a favor repaid. You could never owe me enough in 100 lifetimes. So I'm just asking. Unfair, I know, but I'm a selfish weirdo. And you've always been okay with that. Bye for now. I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask, and a lot of swear words I'd like to yell. I'd also like to find the nearest incinerator and toss this journal in, followed by my phone, and maybe followed by myself. But I can't do any of that. Reyes left me with this diary. If it's destroyed, they'll know I was the one who did it, which would be its own admission of guilt, which would land Sarah in the trash compactor anyway, and me in a jail cell. And in the system, and my DNA on file, ready to be matched to any number of previous. So I'm not going to panic. I'm going to do what I do best. Bluff, bet, bully, and brutalize my way through this. Now, viewing this all with that mindset, what have I actually learned? He didn't talk about plans for killing himself in his journal, or the message. He sounded conflicted, not suicidal. But he did go to great lengths to get me to take Sarah. Why? The logical answer is because he knew he wouldn't be able to keep her. If he wasn't going to take his own life, was he afraid that someone else would? 12:27 p.m. Okay. Give me a minute. I need to get a drink of water and rest my throat. I'll be back in a minute. Okay. Oh, wow. Opened my mouth and immediately choked. Excuse me. Okay, that's actually where we're going to stop for the day. We'll do a little extra time after the streams next month. Oh, yeah, my throat is killing me. God, the writing in this game is good. But yeah, let me read my schedule and I'll get off. Excuse me. Tomorrow I will be playing Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc for a patron. Thursday will be 100 Line Last Defense Academy for a patron. Friday will be The Last Door for a patron. And Saturday will, of course, be our weekly Final Fantasy XIV stream. I'll have February's schedule up within the next few days. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And I will see you next time.